Hello. Okay, well, welcome. This is Kim Willis again with another Facebook Live, the last one for the week and possibly the last one for this year. I certainly won't be doing another one this side of Christmas. No, I won't. This is it, finishing up today. Friday morning for me, possibly Thursday night for you. But this is a good topic, may provoke a little bit of curiosity. Are you a marketing chicken? Are you a marketing chicken? Okay, who we got here so far? Colleen. Hi, Colleen. How you doing? And Rebecca, good to see you again. That's great. So, are you a marketing chicken? What's that about? Well, I'll get to it in a minute. I wrote out my notes. In fact, last night I was out, so it's 9:15 or 9:17 or something like that. For me, Friday morning. But last night being Thursday night, I was out because my son is visiting me. And so we went to, there's this club down the road, kind of a club. They serve food and stuff, but their main thing is that they have live music 7 nights a week. And they were supposed to start at 10 p.m. And unfortunately, one of the musicians was late, so they didn't get started till about 10:45, right? So it was a long wait, and I was starting to get, I was thinking, I think I'll go home because I can't wait any longer. But anyway, they finally came, and boy, were they good. They were so damn good, and I stayed there much longer than I originally anticipated. But as a consequence, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Not that I became intoxicated, far from it, but it's just I love good music, and it got me adrenaline pumping, and I found it hard to sleep when I finally did come home. So anyway, but I'll do my very best for you irrespective. Okay, I'll do my very best for you with this mini training today. Are you a marketing chicken? Who else have we got here? Colleen, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi, Colleen. Right. Okay. I assume you guys can hear me, because if you weren't able to hear me, you'd be telling me about it. So I'm sure that's fine. So let's get into it. This is probably the last training I'll be doing for 2018. It won't be like a 1 hour thing. It'll depend on how it flows, but it'll be a minimum of 15 minutes, I suggest, and possibly as much as half an hour. Okay. So, and it is being recorded, thanks to Facebook. They do it automatically for me, which is great. So the first point that I've made, and by the way, whilst I was waiting for this band to arrive and start their live performance last night, I prepared my notes. I thought, well, I'm not just going to sit here doing nothing. I was sitting at a table. So I knew I had to get these notes ready for this lesson, this training, this mini training. So it was good in that sense. So it enabled me to sharpen my thoughts and put pen to paper. So the first point I want to make is that it's important to understand the difference between marketing and sales, because there is a difference between marketing and sales. To me, different people have different definitions, but to me, marketing is about packaging, presenting your message to an audience, and so that maybe some of the people in that audience will lean forward, make an inquiry. Okay, that's marketing, and that can include content. There are different elements to it. Content, branding. Sometimes, particularly if you're running a traditional business, but certainly if you're a person-to-person type marketer like me, it's not so much about brand. Well, not so much about. It's not like corporate branding. It's different. It's personal branding. Okay, so you don't need a logo or a design colors or anything like that when it's personal branding. But obviously, you want to build some authority around you, and in a sense, that becomes your brand. So marketing is about all of those elements. Often it revolves around content and which could be text-based content, video content, even some people do podcasts and things like that. So that's pure audio, isn't it? So that's marketing. That's marketing. And sometimes your marketing produces leads. We teach people with the Try Builder Core product that you can use content to generate leads. You can write a lead generating post and post it on Facebook, for instance. You can, if you've got a little email list and you want to generate leads for a new thing that you're promoting, okay, you use content, you create content and send it out to your email list. So there's another example. That's all marketing. But sales is a bit different. Sales is about, well, getting people to the point where they're going to pay you some money. That's what it's about. So it's about conversions, isn't it? So marketing to me is about everything that leads up to the point where somebody pays you money. Okay, but you need both. You need both. You need a way to generate leads, which often comes back to content, and you need a way to convert those leads into sales. Now, if you're in affiliate marketing, network marketing, or you're selling services, particularly higher ticket services like coaching packages, consulting, you're an expert, something like that, you need to have a more high-powered way of generating sales or winning clients than just sending out emails to people. You could have a front-end offer, which is a low-priced offer, and then that gives you an opportunity to have a phone call or something like that with the person, and then if they are suitable, okay, maybe then they'll upgrade and buy your big thing, your main thing. So that's part of the sales process. But all I'm saying with this point is that it's vitally important that you understand the difference between marketing and sales. There is a difference. Now, some people become really good at on the marketing side. They're great at writing, preparing content, and they're good at generating leads. Some of their, posts generate leads for them. That's great, but they're not so good on the conversion side, which is about making sales. And that often happens. Lots of people that I've talked to, particularly this year, have told me that they're getting leads. They're getting leads, no problem. They're getting leads. They're getting people to join their Facebook group, no problem. But they're not able to convert them into sales. So it's a completely, in a way, it's a separate step, and often it requires us to reach out to people one-on-one, via Facebook Messenger or on the phone or on Skype or something like that. So, all right, I just wanted to start with that one. So that's the first one. Yeah, who else has just joined? Is that Diane? No, that's Perry. Hi, Perry. How you doing? Yeah, Perry from Canada. Great to see you here, Perry. Now, so that's the first one. It's important that you understand the difference between marketing and sales. The second one is that even attraction marketers have to hustle. Even attraction marketers have to hustle. Now, if you know anything about attraction marketing, you'll know that it's all about attracting people to you. So rather than you reaching out and hustling all the time, attraction marketers get people to lean forward and put their hand up, whatever analogy or metaphor you want to use, and make an inquiry. Okay, so some people are under the mistaken impression that attraction marketers don't have to hustle because they're attracting people all the time and the sales just automatically happen. That's not quite right. If they were selling an itty bitty tiny front end product, okay, maybe they don't have to hustle so much, but if they're going to make money in whatever field they've chosen to be in, they'll probably need to have some kind of a bigger, higher ticket offer that they can move people up to. And to do that, they got to hustle. They have to hustle. So there's no way of getting around it. Sooner or later, we have to hustle. And the people who make the sales are the people who hustle. They know how to hustle. They've got a bit of fire in the belly. They've got perhaps a little bit of a killer instinct, and they just go for it. They have to hustle. Now, I see myself as an attraction marketer, okay? So, and I've been going down this attraction marketing pathway for, basically since I started in 2006. I see myself as an attraction marketer. But of all the sales that I've made, and there's been many millions of them now, millions of dollars worth, that is, I still had to hustle. And particularly for the bigger ticket stuff, that meant phone calls, or more recently, you know, voice calls of another nature. So Skype, Facebook Messenger voice, Zoom, another one. I've had to hustle. Now, am I a natural born hustler? No, I'm not. Not by any means. I am not a born salesman. Quite the opposite. In a perfect world, I wouldn't do any of it. Frankly, I wouldn't do any of it because it's not comfortable for me to be hustling day after day after day. It's not comfortable for me to do that. But I realized early on that I had to do what I wasn't comfortable about if I was to get the results that I wanted to get. And with some of the people who are going to be who are either watching it live or watch the replay, I think they have an issue. They have an issue in that they are fearful of sales work. It scares the living daylights out of them, just like it did for me. But sooner or later, we have to come to a point where we say, well, do I succumb to my fear, or do I challenge it head on? That's what it's going to come down to, in all probability. So, so even attraction marketers, as I said, even attraction marketers, if they're going to be successful, they have to hustle. They have to put their fears behind them, their lack of comfort behind them, and just do what it takes. Now, a very good example comes to mind, apart from my own example, and that is the example provided on a regular basis by our own TriBuilder Core member and mentoring student of mine, a personal mentoring student. She's not just a TriBuilder Core member. Let's get clear about that. And that's Connie Kachia. And she continues to impress and even amaze that despite the fact that she'd never been in sales in her entire life. She was an office-based person. She worked in an office for the same organization for like 22 years, something like that, long time, okay? And, you know, she was an admin person, right? So she'd never been in sales. And before she got involved with me and our little movement here, she had not made sales. She was in an MLM. I think it was a weight loss, a health kind of a program, and she couldn't make that work. Then she joined a high ticket program, and she couldn't make that work, right? No sales. And she spent a fortune on advertising, by the way, and still no sales, right? So somehow, with the help of the TriBuilder Core training and the personal mentorship that she became involved with, somehow she found her inner hustler. Now, did it frighten the living daylights out of her? Absolutely. It frightened the living daylights out of her. But once the pieces started to fall into place, once the jigsaw pieces started to fall into place, she started to feel a little bit good about it. And that always helps when you make a sale. That always helps when you make a sale, even if it's only a, you know, $100 sale or a $50 sale or something like that. It always helps. I'll take any sale. I'm happy. Any sale, if it leads to something bigger down the track, fantastic. But there's nothing like making a sale. It's a wonderful feeling. And if you can get to the point where you're making sales every day, that's an even better feeling. Or if you're selling big ticket products, fine. Maybe one sale a week or two sales a week. That's all you need. But it's you've got to somehow, if it's an issue for you, if you're sort of holding back because you're fearful, you're scared of rejection or whatever, you've got to find a way to find your inner hustler. So if somebody like Connie can do it, if somebody like me can do it, who's essentially more of a non-sales type by nature, right? If we can do it, you can do it too. You can do it too, and that's the message for today. All right, that's one of the messages anyway. Yeah, good on you, Rebecca. Yeah, hi Dan. Excuse me. Good to see you again. Okay, so that's number 2. Even attraction marketers need to hustle. All right, number 3. What do we got here? why you avoid sales work. Why you avoid sales work? Well, I think it's pretty well straightforward. If indeed it is the case for you, the reason why you avoid it is because it's a confidence issue, and ultimately you're terrified of being rejected. That's it. And I guess we all are. Nobody likes to be rejected unless you're a very thick-skinned kind of natural-born salesperson. Nobody likes it. But I should add that there are ways to sort of trick your brain into feeling more comfortable with it. And certainly some of the techniques that you can use will result in much less, a smaller incidence of rejection anyway. Okay, and I think if you're using attraction marketing techniques in the first place, that will help to build your posture with people and your authority with people, and that alone should minimize the incidence of rejection. Now, but that said, you're still going to get rejection. You're still going to have it. So when I was doing a lot of personal sales, and I was making some very good money, making plenty of sales, I still got rejected, but I didn't get, it wasn't like I was being rejected 10 times a day or anything like that. It might have been a full-on rejection. I might have had 2 a week or 3 a week. That's all. And you know something? I can handle that. I'm a big boy. I can handle 3 a week, right? Now, how did I get it to 3 a week? Because I know some people out there who are using, say, Facebook Messenger, and they're cold pitching people. They're getting rejected all the time. And ultimately, that type of method is unsustainable. They're getting abused. They're getting kicked in the face, metaphorically speaking. They're getting rejected day after day after day after day. At the end of each day, they got to have a cold shower just to sort of wash off all the angst and the negativity that they've experienced for that day. Whereas if you use attraction marketing techniques, you definitely get less rejection. You do. And the way I often did it is that I saw myself as the sifter, the person who was sifting through my leads, because I was getting these inbound leads. Okay, so I wasn't outreaching. I wasn't cold pitching people to get leads. I already had the leads. I had the leads. So all I had to do was follow them up. So I had a certain amount of posture because they made an inquiry to me. So I thought my attitude, I changed my attitude. I thought, well, they made the inquiry to me, so therefore they got the problem, not me. They got the problem. That's why they're reaching out to me. So I'm the solution to their problem, maybe, if I qualify them properly, if they're the right sort of people. So, and sometimes I'll even say to people, hey, I am in the rejection business, but it's not what you think it is. I'm in the rejection business. What's that? I reject you, or I reject my leads. If they don't stack up, if they're not the sort of people, that was my attitude. If they're not the sort of people I'm looking for, I say, look, John, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you today, but look, it's been great to talk to you, and good luck for the future. That's it. I saw myself as being the rejecter, you see, so I changed. It was like a complete paradigm shift. It was like I turned it 180 degrees. I saw myself as the rejecter. So as a consequence, it improved my posture, and amazingly, people were leaning forward. They were leaning forward more often than not. So when I talked to them on the phone, I could feel them moving forward towards me. In other words, they were eating out of the palm of my hand. They were eating out of the palm of my hand. So then it came down to me choosing, do I want to do business with this person or not? See, I completely turned the tables on people. I've got a conversation happening at the moment. It's been happening for a couple of days. A nice young guy. He's in my free Facebook group, and as is the custom, we reach out to new members and see how they're doing and that type of thing. And this guy is selling some low ticket product, affiliate product. I think it might be network marketing. I'm not sure, but I can't remember about that because I've had a few conversations this week. But he is selling a low ticket product, and he's using emails, cold emails, just gets hold of lists and he sends out these cold emails. And I said, how's that working for you? And he said, not very good. He was honest. I like that when they're candid. And I said, okay, what do you mean? Have you made any sales? And he said, nope, not a one. How long have you been doing it for? 6 weeks, 2 months, something like that. And I said, oh, that's a that's a bit of a barren period for you. What do you put that down to? And he said, oh, well, I just don't think this strategy works. And I said, well, of course, unless you do massive amounts of it. I mean, massive amounts. It's not going to work because you're pitching to a cold audience. There's no like, there isn't any no like and trust factor there, right? So I talked to him about a few of those things, and before I knew it, he was leaning forward and he's asking me what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I said, I use attraction marketing techniques. I build warm audiences, tribes, that sort of thing. And he says, really? He says, oh, I got a problem with that. And then I said, what's that? And he said, oh, I'm not good at writing content. Okay, so there's another issue that have to be dealt with. I said, okay, well, you can borrow other people's content and give them credit for it. As long as it's good content, it doesn't matter. I do it all the time. And on my Facebook page strategy that I'm using at the moment, I'm sharing other people's content. That's part of the strategy. I'm sharing other people's content. I'm writing hardly any content myself. I said, so there's all sorts of ways you can do that to get around the problem. But the point I'm making is that because I had the right posture, because I had my head held high, he was instinctively leaning forward, and it was like, tell me more, because he was loving it. He was lapping it up, and now he's watching the Tribe Builder Core video, and who knows? He may become another member, another client. Yeah, I think he will actually. But the point of the matter is that the way I conducted myself in the conversation flipped things. It turned the table on the prospect, and now the prospect eating out of the palm of my hand. So whatever recommendation I give him at this point, he's gonna treat it very seriously, and he's probably gonna say yes. He's gonna do something about it. See, so automatically the rejection factor just drops like a stone. So just a thought there for you. Okay, so that was the third one. Why you avoid sales work? It's because of your fear of rejection, confidence issues, and so on. But as I said, if you change the way you think, which in turn will lead to a change in the way you dialogue with people, rejection factors are going to drop like a stone. They're just going to drop big time. And if you get rejected, maybe 3 times a week, I can deal with it. I'm sure you can deal with it as well. Okay, so there's another thought there. Now, number 4. Many content marketers are terrified of sales work. Many content marketers. Now, this is an interesting point because I think a lot of people get attracted to, email marketing, content marketing, using content, etc., to do their business because they are instinctively fearful of doing sales work. So they think that, oh well, if I just become good at writing content, for instance, or doing Facebook Lives, or recording videos, or whatever, the keys to the kingdom will become open to me, will be given to me. It'll automatically happen. I'm just going to make lots and lots of money. But that is wrong. That is wrong. I am big on content, as you probably know. I'm big on content. I'm always creating content. I create content every day of the week. Even on Sundays, I create content because I enjoy doing it. But I know the difference between creating content and building your posture and authority and making sales. So it keeps coming back to this issue, making sales. We still have to make sales. So if you're spending inordinate amounts of time creating content every day, I suggest that maybe you need to rejig things a bit, because you're spending all this time on content so you don't have to face up to the reality of the marketplace, which is that you've got to do a bit of sales work. You've got to do a bit of sales work, and it should be probably the first thing that you do every day. Now, when I was running ads and I was doing all sorts of things to generate leads, I had to phone those leads. That was the deal. And I always phoned the leads, and I phoned them multiple times. If I couldn't get hold of the person the first time, okay, I'd leave it for a day or so, and then I'd come back and I'd phone them again. Sometimes I'd phone them using a different phone number. I did all sorts of things like that just to kind of, because they see the same phone number that I originally used. Maybe they're like, oh, I think I know who that is, right? They're not going to pick up. So I did all sorts of things like that. But the fact of the matter is that I knew I had to do a bit of hustle every day. So what I did was that after I had breakfast in the morning, this is when I went full-time. I went full-time after 55 days. So because I'd made enough money in the first almost 2 months to enable me to do that. But so what I got into a routine. So now I'm working from home. I don't have to go into the office every day. There's no more daily commuting. Hey, I'm free at last. But I can only maintain that freedom if I made sales. So I had to make sales. So that's where the rubber hits the road. So no point in quitting the rat race if I'm going to go back and do comfortable things all the time. I've got to do the things that make me the money. See? And that's another thing. I haven't got it written down here, but a lot of people are, they're involved with busy work, pleasant work, enjoyable work, and they avoid doing the things that make them the money. Now, I realized early on that the thing that made me the money was the telephone. It was the call. That was the thing that made me the money. And if I stopped doing that, I was going to be dead in the water. And all of that early success that I had in the first 55 days would count for nothing. It would count for nothing because, you know, you're only as good as your last win, aren't you? You're only as good as your last little success story. So I knew that there's more pressure on me now that I'd quit the rat race, that I had to keep doing exactly what I was doing previously. I had to keep doing the things that I was doing to get me to that point where I was out of the rat race. So that meant that I had to generate leads and I had to phone them. So what I did was that I put my leads together for the day. This is the first, after I had breakfast, put my leads together for the day, wrote out a list of the calls that I was going to make, all right? And usually there'd be a minimum of 10, sometimes 20 and 30 calls. And then I'd wash my face, I'd sort of kind of get myself fresh, I'd jump up and down on the spot, do whatever I needed to do for 5-10 minutes, only for 5 and 10 minutes, not for 2 hours, not another excuse not to do what I had to do. And within 10 minutes, right, I was pumped, I was ready to go, sit down, get my list, right? That was critical. The list was very important. Get my list, first name on the list, bang, phone it. And quite often I wasn't so good with the first one. Then I'd phone the second one. I got a little bit better. By the third one, I was firing on all fours. And that kept me going. I'd break it up into 2 to 3 sessions. I'd do a minimum of an hour as the first session. Then I'd give myself a reward. Okay, so a reward was I'd take a 10-minute break or a 15-minute break. So I'd get up and I'd walk around and maybe I'd put the TV on, but only for 10, 15 minutes, right? Right, so the discipline becomes absolutely critical. Discipline plus routines. Well, I guess a routine is a manifestation of discipline, isn't it? So discipline, routines, all very important. So I'd give myself a reward over, 15 minutes is up, right back into the job, sit down again, and then start dialing again. By then I was firing. My goal was always to have a great morning session. I didn't make that many calls in the evening. If I couldn't get people during the day, surprising how many times I was able to connect with people on their mobile phone or their cell phone during the day. At that point I was phoning mainly Australian leads, and a lot of people were able to answer their phone, even if they could only speak to me for say 5 or 10 minutes. And 10 minutes is all I need. I don't need an hour on the phone. 10 minutes, sometimes 5. Okay, so that was my routine. Sometimes then I'd have lunch. I usually had a nap, and that freshened me up. And then if I had a lot of leads, I'd have an afternoon session. It'd just be 1 hour, another 1 hour session. And if there were a few left over that I couldn't contact during the day, okay, I'd phone them in the evening. I'd have an evening session. So depending on the lead flow, it was usually a minimum of 2 sessions a day, up to a maximum of 4. But that was the activity that made me the money, calling the leads. So you've got to understand what are the activities that make you the money. It may not be calling leads. It may be having chats on Messenger with people. That may be it. Whatever it is, there's a money point. You've got to be real clear about the money point. And no matter how much it scares you, you just got to do it. You have to do it. That is what separates the winners from the losers. I remember a guy called Paul J. Meyer. He ran a company called Success Motivation Institute out of Waco, Texas. Okay, I remember him very well. I never met the guy, but I listened to a lot of his recordings, etc. And I bought his program. He had a big ticket personal motivation training program. And I think it sold, well, in today's language, it would sell for $5,000. But back then, when I was a lot younger, it was, it might have been $1,000 or something like that. But it was still a lot of money, believe me, particularly for a young guy who was still sort of coming to grips with the world of sales and marketing and all the rest of it. But this Paul J. Meyer, I always remember this one thing that he said, and it was this: the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that the successful people will do the things that the unsuccessful person refuses to do. That's the difference. I never forgot that. I never forgot that lesson. And what a powerful point he made. He was adamant about it. That is the primary difference. The unsuccessful people are looking for, they're much more into pleasing activities than pleasing results. They're always looking for pleasing activities. And hey, I've got to be honest with you, I'm always looking for pleasing activities as well. Why'd I go out and watch some live music last night with my son? That's a pleasing activity. But hey, it's not going to make me any money, right? So we need to know the difference. And if we're going to be successful, we're just going to have to embrace the fact that there are some activities that we have to do in order to make the money, and we just got to face up to it, or just forget about it and get out of sales and go back and do what we were doing before. That's what it comes back to at the end of the day. So for me, pleasing activities in the work context is creating content. That's a pleasing activity for me. I really enjoy that. Having conversations with people on Messenger, interesting conversations with people on Messenger, that's a pleasing activity. But if it doesn't ultimately lead to sales, from a purely business point of view, what's the point? What's the point? You're still going to be broke at the end of the week, all right? So think about that. A little bit of tough love here today, but anyway. Why you should embrace sales is my next point. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. If you embrace sales work, in other words, doing those activities that lead to sales, well, you're going to be a much more fulfilled human being, aren't you? You're going to feel good about yourself. Your money woes are going to be behind you. There's just so many benefits. You're going to have a renewed vigor, a smile on your face, and a spring in your step. Think of all of the virtues that will come from making the sale. So even if it means that you're going to have to bite the bullet and work hard to overcome your fear, well, you're just going to have to do it anyway. So what's the title of that book? I think it's from a lady called Susan Jafferis. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Now, I have a confession. I haven't been doing much hustling this year. Not a lot. Not much at all. Not much at all. And I didn't need to. There's been plenty of sales coming in, so it didn't matter. They were just coming in from affiliates and people in my team and so on. But sooner or later, you get to a point where you've got to get back into the game so that you can fine-tune your game and lead others to the next stage in their development. That's the way I look at it, okay? So I made the decision not that long ago that I was going to get back into the game. And I can tell you something, because I've been on extended leave, on a furlough, I've been sort of out of the, in the trenches kind of work for most of this year. I can tell you it's been mighty hard because I'm not a natural born hustler. But at the same time, I know the rule. I remember Paul J. Myers, successful people do the things that unsuccessful people won't do. So sometimes how do I get myself to the point where I'm ready to, you know, do what I got to do to make it happen? Well, sometimes I use anger to do it. I get angry at myself. It's okay. Anger is good. Used properly, anger can be very effective. Anger is mighty powerful. I should do a training on that. Now, I don't mean to say that you go and, you know, you abuse people or anything like that. If I'm going to abuse someone, I'm going to abuse myself, right? I get angry at myself. And, I mean, I don't throw glasses at the wall, you know, or bottles at the wall or anything like that. But I get angry at myself. Sometimes I'll go into the bathroom and I look at the mirror there and I give myself a good talking to. Why not? Why not? If I'm the problem, well, I got to address me. I got to address my problem. If I'm the problem, I got to face it head on and say, listen, Willis, you're an idiot. Shape up, ship out. You know, sometimes I slap myself on the face. I've done that plenty of times too. Slap myself on the face, give myself a good slap on the face. Just shake myself up, you know. Even when I was full on in the marketing arena, making a lot of sales years ago, I still used anger because sometimes I'd have to take a vacation, right? Say over the Christmas period, I'd take 3 weeks. I didn't do any work. There was no calls. I didn't phone leads, nothing. All right. Let me tell you, when I get back into the saddle on the 7th of January, it was hard. It was hard because I did not feel like calling leads again. But I knew that was the thing that makes me the money. So there's no way around it. So one of the things that I used to do was that if I was jumping back into the saddle on the Monday after a week holiday or a 3-week holiday or something like that, and I just could not find the motivation and the energy to pick up the phone once again on the Monday, what I would do to phone leads, what I would do is that I would make phone calls, but they wouldn't be leads. I just got back into the habit of talking to people on the phone. So maybe it was customers. I just talked to customers. Maybe it was my mentor, if I had a mentor working with me at that time. I just phone her and have a nice conversation with her. Maybe it was business colleagues, people who were doing the same sort of work as me. I just wish them a happy new year, blah, blah, blah. And you know, after a couple of hours of doing that, I was starting to feel good about myself. And sometimes in the late afternoon, I would pick up the phone and start phoning leads on the Monday, the first Monday back after a long break. Other times I just say, no, I'm giving myself permission not to make any calls today because this is my first day back. I wasn't going to phone any leads, but I will do it on Tuesday. But by then I was starting to get pumped because I'd already had conversations with people who were, you know, close to me, people that I was working with, and they were easy conversations to have. So by the next day, the Tuesday morning, I was ready. I was ready to rock and roll once again. Okay, so you just got to find a way to make it happen. Okay, all right, so what do we got here? I'll just better check in here. Yeah, hi Linda. And Ash. Hi Ash. And Dale. G'day Dale. How you doing there? The old give and then take it away. FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah, that's true. Fear of missing out. Actually, one of the techniques that I use, I was going to say used past tense and use even to this day, is that I use a technique called the takeaway. So I let people know that I'm not desperate for their business. It's important that I convey that impression to people. In other words, I don't need you. My attitude was, I didn't always say it like this, but my attitude was, you need me more than I need you. That was my attitude. See, it's the rock solid attitude that's the key. It's not even the words that you use. It's the attitude that underpins everything that you do. And people picked up on it. And if they picked up on it, they're far less likely just to reject me out of hand because they recognize that perhaps I was the leader that they'd been searching for. I was the leader. I was that person. And the fact of the matter is that they've reached out, they've made an inquiry, they've responded to my content, or they've responded to an advertisement or something like that because they had a problem. See, that's the thing. So my attitude was, you got the problem, I got the solution. See? And when you talk to somebody with that kind of attitude, when you've got that kind of an attitude, they're going to respond in kind. They are. And this is why, and this is a lesson that I learned. I'm sort of meandering a little bit, but this could be, for some, a priceless training. I remember a training that I got from a guy called Larry Thompson a long time ago. And at that time, he was with a company called Herbalife, okay? And I had joined Herbalife. I was based in London, England at the time. And I answered an advertisement, and the guy that answered the phone was a guy called Jim Faubert. And I ended up being recruited by Jim Faubert. And Jim was a fantastic mentor and trainer. And then I got exposed to this Larry Thompson guy who was second to the founder, Mark Hughes, okay? And then, so every month, Mark Hughes, Larry Thompson and Jim Rowan, you'd know that name, they would fly to London to do a big training for all the troops there. And that was an awesome experience for me. That was an absolutely awesome experience for me. And one of the things that I learned from it was this posture thing, learning to play the posture game. And it got to the point where I became so good at it on the phone that I'd get inquiries because we were promoting kind of the business opportunity aspect of Herbalife, right? So we were running ads in national newspapers. I was based in London, and the calls were coming in from people who lived outside of London sometimes. And I remember some of the calls that I got were from people in Birmingham, Liverpool, the north of England, right? A good 5 hours by car to London. And I remember one in particular, I had other examples, but this one in particular, I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, he came in, he phoned up, and he said, I'm phoning up about this ad about a business opportunity thing. What's it about? And so I gave him a little bit of an answer. Then I started asking him questions. And then I started to tell him a little bit about it, a little bit more about it in a conceptual way. Bottom line is that within 5-10 minutes, I had him eating out of the palm of my hand. And he said, okay, where do I go from here? I said, well, this is what you do. You jump in the car and you come down and see me. And he said, what? When do you want me to do that? I'm at work at the moment, right? I said, what's wrong with now? And he said, well, I'll get the sack if I just walk out of my office right now. I can't do it. I said, okay, no problem. It's not the end of the world if you don't do it this way. I'm just thinking that, you know, you seem to have a burn to meet me and find out more about this. If there's a way you can do it, that would be great. But if not, no problem. You can come down next week, no problem. But you have an urge at the moment. I can feel it. I can feel it. So if you can do it now, that's fine. Let me know. 10 minutes later, he phones. He says, I'm jumping in the car. I'm coming down. I said, okay, what did you say to your boss? He said, I just made some cock and bull excuse. And I just made some ridiculous excuse. And he said, the boss said, okay, no problem. Off you go. Bye-bye. So he came down and the guy signed up and he actually did quite well. He did some business. He made sales. He made some money, etc. But it was my posture that got him to the point where he jumped in the car and he came down to London. Imagine that. Little old me. Shy Kim Willis, getting people to jump in the car and come down, a 5 hour by car, 5 hours to come down and see me. So 5 hours later, knock on the front door, right? And there he was, right? So posture, play the posture game for all it's worth. Okay, what else have we got? Branding or direct response. Okay, this is a little bit of a follow-on from the point that I made about attraction marketing, knowing the difference between attraction marketing and sales. So we could also say that we should also know the difference between branding and direct response, okay? So direct response some people think, particularly people who start just normal businesses, right? They're not affiliate marketers or network marketers. They're starting a normal business. It could be a consultancy business. It could be any type of business. They could have a physical product they want to sell, and sometimes they spend an inordinate amount of money and time on branding, logo, image, using a designer to create their beautiful website and all that, and they spend $20,000 on it, $30,000, creating beautiful brochures and all of these different design elements, etc., etc., etc. They've spent tons of money. Guess what? They still haven't got any customers. They haven't got any customers because branding alone will not make customers, will not produce customers. It doesn't produce customers of itself. It's only when we start to market in a direct way, where we're asking people to lean forward and become a lead in the first place, and secondly, to become a sale, to become a customer. Okay, so it's critical that we understand that branding is not the most important thing for a small business. It's not in the early stages. Now, some people say, oh yeah, but look at the big brands like McDonald's and Coca-Cola, look at Apple, look at Microsoft, look at some of these other big brands. Well, guess what? Most of those big brands had a founder who knew how to hustle. The big brand came later. They didn't start with the big brand. They started by hustling. You don't believe it? Read Steve Jobs' story, how he got Apple started. It was all about the hustle. Read Bill Gates' story. Now, there's an introvert if ever there was one, okay? But he knew what had to be done. He knew what had to be done. He knew where the rubber hit the road, so he was out hustling. And the biggest hustle of all was when he hustled IBM and got them to sell DOS, the crude operating system that applied at the time, and give the full rights to this fledgling Microsoft company. But he was hustling, and he hustled for many years, hustled big companies that they wanted to use their operating system, and ultimately that became the Windows system, etc. Bill Gates was a big-time hustler, and now he hustles for charities. He's always been hustling, even though he's not what you probably call a natural-born salesperson. So there's another great example. But the big companies that you see now with the big brands, generally they did not start out as big brands. They didn't start out with all the big fancy branding and all the rest of it. They started out by hustling. Every small business requires some hustle, as a rule. It'd be unusual if there wasn't a high degree of hustling happening. All right, so finally, let me finish up. I'm going to run through this quite quickly because we're going over time. So, and some of these I can do really fast because I've already kind of covered it. Tips to crush it in sales. Here we go. See yourself as a success in your mind's eye. See yourself as being a successful person. When I first got started with the online thing in 2006, generating leads online, I tried to visualize myself as the person in 30 days or 60 days who was making $5,000, $10,000 a month. And I visualized myself putting the money into my bank account. I visualized myself checking my bank account, going down there and getting the bank to print out a statement so I could see the balance growing, every week or every couple of weeks or whatever it was. I saw myself as that person. That's number one. Number two, see yourself as a problem solver, not a salesperson. Get over it. Just get away from this hang up that you've got about sales, if indeed that is the case. See yourself as a problem solver. Yes, you're here to make sales. You want to make sales if you can solve someone's problem. But if you can't solve that person's problem, walk away and have that attitude that you are prepared to walk away. You are not desperate. You don't need people. They need you more than you need them. That's the attitude you've got to have. And boy, I wish I could work with some of you more closely, and because I would kind of inculcate that feeling, thinking with you day after day after day, and then finally the penny drops and the magic happens. But anyway, number three, contact sheet. I already gave you that tip. Write your contacts up. Who are the people that you're going to have to reach out to today? and you do it first thing. Or okay, if you've got a full-time job, maybe you can't do it. Maybe you can't do it. So whenever you start doing your home business thing, if it's at night time, you come home from work, you get started. Because when I first started, first 55 days, I was part-time. I had to go into the office every day. So I couldn't do any day work at all. It was night work. So I'd come home, I'd have dinner, and I'd freshen myself up. And then usually around 7 p.m., I would start making calls. I called it dialing for dollars. So, but I always had the list. I prepared the list. And, you know, there were times where I had a really bad day at the office in the traditional business, right? Working in that business. And I got home and I did not want to phone leads. I didn't want to be doing this home business thing. I just wanted to relax and watch TV and just chill. But, you know, I'd already written out the names of the people I was going to phone. I was sitting there on the dining room table and I kept looking at it. And my motto was that if the names were written down on the sheet, I had to phone them. I wouldn't be able to sleep that night if I didn't make those calls. See, it was something, I don't know, there's a connection there. It works really well. Try it. Write the names down and then you make an ironclad guarantee to yourself that if the names appear on the piece of paper, on the sheet, you're going to be calling them in this session. So if it's an evening session, that's when you do it. And by the way, I didn't necessarily say it has to be phone calls, but voice calls work fantastic, by the way. But anyway, but even approaching people on Messenger, talking to them about their need, their problems, flushing out the problem, and then moving forward in a sales-oriented way is what you got to do. But start with the list. Write that freaking list, and then go to work on the list. And you do it every day, or 5 days a week, 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week, whatever it is. Number 4. So first, number 1, see yourself as a successful person in possession of the result that you want. Number 2, see yourself as a problem solver. They need you more than you need them. Number 3, contact sheet. Who you will contact today, right? That's number 3. Number 4, here it is. Aim for 5 quality conversations a day. 5. I say 3 to 5. Okay, so you're only doing it part-time. For me, it was 3 as a part-timer before I went full-time. As a full-timer, it became 5. But say 3 to 5 quality conversations a day. Quality conversations with quality people who can afford, who can do business with you. It's just they haven't done it yet. They're not going to do it today, but they may do it next week. They may do it in 3 days' time. Maybe you've given them some information to have a look at. Okay, but you want 3 quality conversations. So the way I've tended to do it, like last year, I was doing a lot of personal sales myself on Facebook. The way I've tended to do it is that I start out on a messenger chat, and if I'm having a good chat with a person, then I'll suggest, if time permits, I'll suggest that we talk on a voice call. So typically I'd have a chat that might last for 10 minutes, that's all. 10 minutes using text, and then I would make the suggestion. And if they can't do it then, or if I couldn't do it then, okay, we'll do it the next day or the day after. Because the voice call, I found, took it to another level. It takes it to another level and the conversions go up exponentially. Just another tip there. Okay, so that's number 4, aim for 5 quality conversations a day. Number 5 is nudge qualified prospects to the next step. Always. You're always moving people to the next step. So yesterday when I was talking to this guy I was telling you about, okay, I got him to watch my tribe builder, my 6-figure tribes video. All right. And then he came back to me not long after and asked me a few questions. All right. So the next step for me is to get onto a call. I couldn't do it yesterday because I had other commitments, and he had a time issue as well. So it'll either be today or next Monday. It's Christmas Eve. But anyway, we'll see what we can fit in. So, but we're always moving people forward to the next step in your sales process. You've got to be clear about what the sales process is, and that will vary from obviously one person, one business to another. And then finally, number 7, there is no better feeling than making a sale. That's not really a step. That's more of an observation. There is no better feeling than making a sale. I was going to say apart from sex or something like that, but certainly in the business context, there is no better feeling. There's none. You know, doing all this pleasant work, okay, it's nice. It's non-threatening. It's fine, but nothing can quite beat the feeling that you get when somebody says yes, they hand over some money, and they're doing business with you. They made the decision that you're the person they want to do business with. There is no better feeling, at least in the business world, all right? There's no better feeling. So if you can visualize that feeling, visualize it on a daily basis, on a daily basis, really. If you can visualize that as part of your mind conditioning exercises, you're going to find it much, much easier, and you're going to be more relaxed. Your posture is going to be there. People will pick up on your improved posture, and before you know it, you're going to be doing business quicker and easier than you ever did before. So that's it. That's it. I'm done. Any questions, folks, before I sign off for the day and possibly for the weekend? Okay. What have we got here? See if we got anything. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them. Yeah, hi, Dee. How are you? Good to see you. Yep. Dale says, tweaking the mindset to proper posture. Yeah, proper posture. Very much so. Posture is so important. And you can convey posture just with text-based messaging on Messenger. You can. You can do an even better job with voice. I get onto a voice call with people. In the past, I've paid my dues, and sometimes I get the feeling that a lot of people who are struggling, they've never really paid their dues. They're avoiding it. They're kind of skirting around it, right? They're skirting around it. They haven't paid their dues, and they don't want to do it because they think, oh, it involves pain and it involves sacrifice. But look, if you enjoy the journey, you'll probably find there's not much pain at all. There's more joy than anything. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy it. Fall in love with it. See? So, but yeah, conditioning of the brain, very important. But sometimes just talking to people anyway, just to hell with it. I'm just going to talk to people. If I'm not ready, I'm not ready. But hey, I'll never be ready if I'm just sitting here sucking my thumb. I'm just going to talk to people. Just see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? I'm just going to talk to people and talk to them in a nice, open way and have an interest in them. And maybe they'll tell me a little bit about themselves that reveals some kind of pain or problem. And then, maybe I can just ask them a question. Is it important that you get this problem solved, John? They say, yeah, it's important. Okay, well, maybe I'll help you there. No promises. All right, now there's an example of the takeaway. Now, I don't want to go into another training, but there's an example of the takeaway. Takeaway is very important from a posture building point of view. See, maybe I can help you. No promises. No promises. That's a takeaway. See, that's posture. That's saying, hey, I don't need you. I don't absolutely need you. I'm not like a puppy dog. Come on, please, 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 please. No, I'm not like that. If you can just kind of work on that, trick your brain that you are in the box seat. You're the one with the solution. They're the people you're talking to, in all probability, are the people with the problem. If you can just flip it in your brain, and I'm not saying it necessarily happens overnight. It may take weeks or months. It'll depend. For some people, the penny drop can drop quite quickly. Other people, it takes longer. So yeah, that's basically it, folks. Hope you have a good Christmas. I got my I got my number one son. My oldest son is here. He arrived earlier this week, and my second son, my younger son, he's based in Hong Kong. He's a top tennis coach, and he arrives on Monday. So we're going to have a real a family reunion. So I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a great Christmas Day thing planned as well. So I'm sure you've got some good things happening planned for Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Most of you do. looking at the names. Most of you do. So I wish you all the best, season's greetings, and let's make 2019 one to remember in a positive way. Let's make it a big year. This is going to be your big year. It's a great time to be thinking about goals and aspirations and all of that. Resolutions, yeah, they can help. They can help, providing that you also create an action list, action steps. Resolutions mean nothing if you don't create an action list, a list of action steps that you need to take. And, you know, maybe you take them on the 2nd of January, whatever, but, and you just start rolling it out. You know, I was working on my action list yesterday. I'll be doing some more work today. So I've got quite a sophisticated strategy that I'm going to be rolling out through 2019. So if you've got a strategy, you've got to have action steps. If you've got goals, you've got to match it with action steps. Action steps is where the rubber hits the road, isn't it? So just another thought there. Okay. All right. Well, I think maybe we just say goodbye for this one. Creating those efficient action steps. Yes, you're right, Dale. That's absolutely right. Merry Christmas to you. Creating those efficient action steps, and then, you know, just on that, what I like to do is I create my master list of action steps. These are the action steps that are designed to serve the strategy that I've developed, and then I take those action steps, and then I break them down often into small action steps, the little things that I've got to do every day. Okay, so they become my daily action steps, but they feed the overarching strategy. Now, you probably don't need to do anything like that because maybe you don't have different companies that you're working with, etc. But just as a loner, like a solopreneur, just setting your goals, having a simple strategy. Don't spend months on it. Just, you know, sometimes you can just write it out on a sheet of paper. These are my goals. This is my strategy. This is how I'm going to reach my goals. And then finally, these are the action steps that I'm going to need to take each month. Action steps that I need to take every day as well. And then, you know, when you're ready to get back into the saddle, maybe on the 2nd of January or something like that, or maybe even after Christmas. I've done business plenty of times on the 28th of December, the 29th of December, 31st, not so much because that's New Year's Eve. But in between Christmas and the New Year, there are plenty of times, plenty of years where I made sales. Yeah. Now, I won't be doing that this year. I'll be back into full outreach mode in early January. It might be the 3rd, it might be the 4th or something like that. Before the 7th, something like that. Yeah. But that's it. All right, folks. It's as I say, it's great to see you. It's great to have some good commentary here as well. And we'll see if there's anything else I need to say. A new vision board. Yeah, vision boards can be terrific. And yes, Linda, I used a vision board. I had the vision board to the right of me. I can think of it exactly now. When in my house, I had the vision board just on the right on the wall there, and this was in my study, and then I had a comfortable lounge chair, and I'd sit in my lounge chair and I'd look at my vision board. So even when I was dialing for dollars, doing that calling work, periodically I'd look up at my vision board and I'd see some of the things. And one of the big things was that I wanted to do a lot of travel. I wanted to see the world before I became too old to enjoy it, right? And where am I now? I've been away from home for 5 years, traveling, exploring different worlds, alien cultures. It's been a life-affirming and transforming experience for me. It's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. It's been phenomenal. Now, not everybody wants to travel, of course, but I understand that. But this was on my vision board. That was on my vision board. Now, it didn't quite happen when I thought it would happen. It took longer than I thought because I still had kids at school, and at that time, this is back in 2006, right? I still had kids at school, but it did happen. I never lost sight of it. It did happen. I was always thinking about it. So yeah, you're right. A vision board can work really well. I'm going to create a new vision board for 2019. Fantastic. Yes, a new year, new beginnings. Wipe the slate clean. Wipe the slate clean. If 2018 hasn't been so good for you, okay, let's put it behind us. Forget it. We start with a clean sheet of paper, a clean slate, and we create a new vision for ourselves. It needs to be, goals need to be big enough to excite, but small enough to be implementable. Is that a word? No, you know what I'm saying? Big enough to excite. They've got to be big enough to excite you, because if they don't excite you, they're not going to get you out of bed in the morning, right? If it's just a little bit of incremental thinking, it's probably not going to do the trick. It's got to be something that puts a spring in your step. It really gets you moving, but at the same time, it has to have a degree of realism about it. You might want to fly to the moon, but in 2019, but chances are it ain't going to happen, right? So it's not reality, is it? You might want to make $1 million next year, but hey, if you haven't made your first 10 grand yet, may I suggest that the $1 million goal is a little bit unrealistic? Okay, so the goal has to be achievable with maybe with a Herculean effort, but it is achievable. In other words, it's got some reality about it, but it's still big enough to motivate you, okay, and stretch you, and even make you a little bit scared. Okay, so that's my attitude about goals. All right. So, and look, if at the end of next year you don't quite reach the goal, no problem. If you reach, if your result is still better than 2018, got to be a good thing. You did better anyway, didn't you? Shoot for the stars, and if you happen to, you end up hitting the top of the tree, that's still going to be good. You aim for the stars, but you didn't quite get there. But you shot the leaves off the top of the tree. That's still okay in my book. You know, so that's it. Okay, well, I better finish up. I'm going to create it. Yeah, okay, that's great. All right, folks. Well, that's it for me. Have a great Christmas and a wonderful 2019. Look forward to helping whoever needs help. I'm looking forward to doing more of that through next year. That's certainly one of the commitments that I will always have in place. All right, so that's it. See you guys. Have a good one. I'll still be hanging around Facebook here and there, but perhaps not as active as I normally am. But I'll be checking in most days. Okay, see ya. Bye-bye. There we go.